Everybody, welcome to the October 5th, 2016 meeting of the High-Speed Regional Transportation Citizens Advisory Committee. Because of some unique circumstances, things may be a little out of order today. 3 days after our last meeting, one of our members passed. I would like to take a moment at this time of silence and remembrance. Her name was Carla Hurt Price, relatively new, but a very active participant in this committee. So if you all take a moment of silence. If anybody wants to make any brief comments, if they attended the memorial service, several of us. Sorry. Several of us had previous things, and I couldn't rearrange mine. Jim Godfrey is in Albuquerque, so please make the comments relatively brief. Joan?
Yeah, I went to this. It was a wonderful celebration of Carla's life. The place was packed, as I knew it would be, and it was just truly what she wanted, Bon Jovi and champagne, and we had a champagne toast to her at the end, and got a chance to speak with Steve, who I've never met, and told him how I knew Carla. And he goes, oh, wow, that's a whole other group of her life. I don't know. But I was pleased to see it was so well attended.
Tom?
Yes, I agree completely. We were amazed. We parked 2 blocks away to get a parking space. For those of you that don't know, she had a very sudden, totally unexpected heart attack, massive heart attack, at her grandparents. She was with her grandchildren out playing. She thought she had just acid reflux. She went in to get a TUM that came back out, sat down in a chair with, I guess it was, well, with somebody, and got up out of the chair and went, blam, dead. No pain, just gone. And 52 years old. We have the same birthday, 23rd of September, 22 years later than me. but totally painless. But I just am staggered at that age with no signs, no attempt, no apparent condition of any kind. Gone.
Yeah, walker, jogger, all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, but a super person, and the speeches were awesome.
Yeah.
Champagne and
Yeah.
Bon Jovi, as you said. She was quite a person.
Indeed.
Any other comments? All right. You have the agenda in front of you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public comment period for items not on the agenda. I'm going to take a little liberty right now and do something. I'm going to give you a website. All of you being members of the county, not only representing the individuals that you do, whether it's Calhan out in the eastern part of the county or Crystal on the west side of the county, you're all part of this community. The El Paso County Public Works Department has a young lady, engineer, that is in charge of the 2016 Major Transportation Corridors Plan Update. Because you represent such a wide area in the county, I would encourage you, and I will give you the website address, to make any comments quickly. They do need to try and assemble this. There's Ms. Irvin's here with the county. Their website is EPCR, it's capital letters, then small OAD, capital P, plan, PLAN.com. And it is a great place for you to make comments that you might witness as you travel from Calhan or Edison to or from these meetings. So if anybody wants that information, I have it available. Is there anybody in the audience that isn't a member of staff? No public comments. Going on. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes?
I move approval of the minutes as presented.
That was, Tom Hoover was second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now, Miss Bev, the money lady. Tom,
An alternates vote?
I'm sorry?
An alternates vote today?
Everyone here is available to vote. I know of two people that will be recusing themselves, and we will take care of it.
Good afternoon. As you can see in July, our sales and use tax number of $7,200,000 and almost $70,000 was below the budget by $715,000. And when checking into why that was so much lower than budget, I found out that we had a credit of $408,000 for a lawsuit against a company that was a wireless company that had wireless data plans that they were charging taxes on for quite a number of years. So there was a lawsuit against that company, and they lost it, and then requested the money back from the Colorado Department of Revenue. So $408,000 is kind of a one-time credit, which explains some of the lower sales and use tax. And then there was also a very large retailer that did not submit their July sales and use tax. So I'll watch that for when we get the August and see if they submit it, like double months. It won't be the exact same amount, but. So that's probably, those two alone would account for that, but that made me a little nervous when it first came out, and I had the board meeting a few minutes later, so I didn't get a chance to really investigate it. And the board approved sales and use tax budget of $89 million for 2017 budget period. And I don't know if you remember, but I had brought that to you all at like $90 million. And so they cut it back to $89 million because they were a little concerned that this might be, what continues throughout the year. But it doesn't really look like that's going to happen, but you never know. So on page 2, then, we're still ahead of last year's actual by $2,252,000, or almost 5%. And then the rest of the pages just fill in the numbers from the revenue and then the expenditures that we've received from the member governments so far. So are there any questions? No? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Before I go on, I forgot to read our purpose statement at the beginning because things got a little different. The primary objective of the CAC is to ensure the capital, maintenance, and public transportation projects and programs approved by the voters during the November 6, 2012 election are accomplished with PPRTA funds. This committee reports directly to the Board of Directors. Slightly out of order. Next agenda item. City of Colorado Springs. Mike, or is it you?
Good afternoon, Mike Chavez, City Engineering. I'll be covering a few items, and I may have somebody else come up. We have, first thing for consideration is a change order for AECom for additional utility work on the Centennial Extension Project, and that is extra work that CSU wants done, and they will reimburse us for that when we settle up the project's end. The other several items are contracts at streets, is bringing, and I'm going to let Dave Scalfrey come and talk about that.
Thank you. Good afternoon. David Scalfrey with City Streets, Operations Manager, Contracted Programs. And before you, you have 7 contracts that we are seeking your approval and then recommendation to the board for PPRTA pre-overlay concrete contracts. These will be task order based for on-call PPRTA funded pre-overlay concrete work. The streets will not be 2C funded. They are non-2C related projects. They are PPRTA related projects. Each task order will be set to not to exceed $200,000 each, nor to exceed $3 million per vendor. And these are more of your conventional style pre-overlay concrete type projects that you've seen over the past since the inception of PPRTA. Any questions? Thank you.
Tom?
Got a question. The same group of contractors, it seems to appear almost every month. Do you have any of these that are approaching the $3 million threshold on these $200,000 task orders? Just in macro, whether they get there or not, but they've got enough task orders. So
And I'm sorry, I didn't make this clear. These were, so they have existing contracts. The most of this group does. A few of these are new to the group. These will be new contracts going forward that will actually take the place of the existing contracts once they expire at the end of the year. This group of 7 contractors were all participants in the 2C RFP process. Therefore, we are in agreement with and pleased with the level of work and performance that they are providing us under 2C, and we wish to award them all PPRTA contracts based off of that RFP process. So they will be starting with $0 amounts. In other words, in their cumulative.
So are you awarding them a $3 million max value, $200,000 task orders?
Yes. That's correct.
How is this different from their contract now?
As far as their PPRTA contract, their PPRTA, I believe there are 4 that have PPRTA contracts. Those expire at the end of the year.
But how are they different than this?
These are task order based. The others are not task order based.
So you came to us for a specific contract on each of them?
Yes, an approval for each of these new contracts now going forward.
Would you clarify the dates?
I'm confused. If we did work with these people previously, how was it approved? Was it just, did you come for like Centennial and say we need so-and-so to do the concrete work or the pre-overlay, or?
We would, in past years, we would come to the board and ask for approval of those contracts, and then at renewal at the beginning of the year. And then we would assign dollar amounts to the contracts and then change order as projects proceeded.
Okay.
We would give them a grouping of streets. As they completed that, we would give them another grouping of streets.
So this is just giving you the ability to task order up to 200,000, whereas before you had to come to us if something was 200,000.
If before we could assign a higher amount, this actually has more constraints to it.
Then why are we doing that?
Because the bulk of our work right now is 2C related, and they're moving along quite well with that. But we need the tool, we need the ability to use PPRTA funds to continue to address PPRTA style work. We're just not seeing the massive pre-overlay program because our pre-overlay program is not as big with PPRTA type of work right now. The overlay with PPRTA is not as big as what it was in past years.
So why do we need 200,000 when most of our stuff was 100,000? Are there a lot between that 100 and 200?
Many of them in past years were well over $200,000. So actually, this is actually what we feel is reasonable. And then I also believe that I think I'm going to have to call on Mike Zeller to help out with this one
I'm just confused.
on the $200,000 task order limit.
Yes.
The reason that we're set there is because, can you help me out with that?
approved for
Okay.
in the last meeting.
Okay.
For different items. So this is just one more task that we're upping the task order to 200 before. I'm confused because it seems every meeting we have a list of 6. So we're increasing it to 200,000 for each different things. You know, I don't know, I don't have him in front of me, but it seems like we're doing that every meeting, and I guess I'm asking why do we need to?
So I'm not real clear on your question. I'd love to be able to answer that. We have
My
not.
question.
We
I
have-
understand your question because I am confused and I'm not getting an answer to your question.
Um,
I'm confused as well.
It looks to me, and I may be mistaken, that we're just giving a higher limit so you don't have to come to us for anything under 200, whereas before our kind of understood limit was 100,000. And we made an exception for one other thing where he said, you need immediate for those 150. And then the next time, somebody else said, well, we need immediate for this. So I guess I'm asking, do you need immediate for this? Is
Yes,
there,
yes, we do.
why?
Yes, we do. Because we have so much work that falls into this type of scenario that it would be much more expedient for us to address and take on programs rather than to wait, say, once we assign work, come to you in November or December.
I
Or
thought you just said, though, there was not as much PPRTA.
there is not as much as is absolutely correct because the bulk of our work is 2C related. But these are actually smaller, and I'm a little confused myself because PPRTA concrete contracts have always been quite significantly higher than $200,000 each.
Because they're for projects.
Yes. So what we're looking at is a means to take on a street or a group of streets where we're going to actually do paving work with PPRTA dollars and then fund the concrete work ahead of that.
I'm still feeling that it's a bit of
Can I-
circling.
no.
Yes, please.
So
Coming to us.
this is maintenance money. And previously under RTA, street division or operation maintenance would issue about 4 contracts to concrete contractors with really no dollar value. The CAC and the board would approve them for a yearly approval, and they would just give them work, and however fast those guys could work, they'd get more money, $2-3 million, some contractors. And those change orders were just internal. We never came back to the board. Those are expiring, and operations wants to issue new contractors, these 7 contractors, and we're actually putting in some limits this round, where is the task order goes up to 200,000 up to 3 million. And the internal check is that Rick will be seeing them, and if we try to issue one that's over 3 million, he'll say, hey, they've reached the limit. So it's a little bit different spin than what we did before, and it's actually coming in smaller chunks than we did before.
Why would you impose limits, a smaller dollar amount limit on yourself when both of you have stated that the contract amounts were higher last year with no limit and no real approval process that was occurring?
Well, I think I'm not sure. I mean, basically, this is the way we're kind of running contracts, and they want to use the current contract they have with the same terms of 2C money, and this is how it's set up. We just want to use those same terms, but be able to use RTA money for the RTA fund, portion of the streets that they're using.
So to be clear, you've issued $300 or $3 million contracts to each of these. You're giving them a $200,000 task order, that lump of work, and when they run through that, then you issue another task order to them for another $200,000, and you do that 15 times?
Actually, what I was trying to explain, and I apologize for not being clear, what we were attempting to do is target more smaller projects with less than $200,000. So it gives us the ability to take on a particular street like Bermuda Drive. We just got a complaint on Bermuda Drive. It's significantly greater need there than our simple on-call projects that are of $25,000, $30,000. This is actually a full run of curb and gutter that would be probably closer to $100,000. It gives us the tool, the avenue to get this type of work addressed.
Go ahead.
Well, I wonder if Rick might be able to put this in terms that I understand a little bit better.
Okay, I understand where your problem is. Before you go, Colt, I am one of your approved contractors. I have a contract that we gave at the beginning of the year to me, okay? Does this supersede that contract? Or does this contract that would be approved today or recommended approval today, does it take place when my existing contract expires? Are there two contracts running concurrently with the same entity? With PPRTA, not 2C.
Right. In those that are in place right now, I believe there are 4. They expire at the end of the year. So our idea, our notion is to have these 7 in place to be able to use. All right. Thank you, Rick.
Rick Sonnenberg, Pikes Peak RTA Program Contracts Manager. Some of this is from memory, and if you want to allow me a 5-minute recess, I can run upstairs and double-check my memory. Here's my memory. That the city would divide itself up into 4 sectors. There are 4 concrete vendors, AA, Evan Pricer, Trax, and Blue Ridge, I think, would take each of the quadrants, and they would concentrate on that. They would be awarded through the CAC and the board a contract for X dollars, just to pick a number, $1 million a piece. No task order, just Trax. You have $1 million, and you're going to work on all the concrete in the quadrant. They're switching to go, they're switching to go to the task order basis for what I'm hearing are smaller projects. With my assumption is they have no intent of maxing out any of these to 300 or to 3 million. They're just piggybacking on the task order and 3 million max that they're doing the 2C. So these are just piggybacked contracts using the 2C model. Does that help?
It still doesn't tell me about the timing. So you literally...
So I guess that
He said they would be effective January 1.
You did?
Earlier he did. I thought he did.
so the old contracts run out December 31
Yes.
and these start January 1?
These are actually live. When they
Okay,
get
so
them
there would be a time overlap.
Yes. So the intention is to continue to use the existing contracts with the 4 contractors that are working. These additional contractors, if we have the funds and the availability, we would have these other 3 that we can call upon with the new contracts to get work done as well.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, Dave?
So the task orders are $200,000. Typically, what PPRTA does is the curb and gutter, right? And bed ramps.
Curb, gutter, sidewalk, ped ramps, cross pans, squared returns. Yes.
So is there any document, since this has, once it runs through the end of December 2016, we don't have to come back for approval for a 4-year option, right?
We come back annually for a renewal. Yes.
So is there any verbiage anywhere or anything that says, the going rate for standard curb and gutter is $1.76 a foot, or is this just dollar amount and they're going to do whatever?
Each contractor does have their own price list. I could absolutely get that provided for this committee, if that would help you. They are right in line with they have been in years past. Anything above a 5% increase annually, we take a good look at and see if we actually want to approve that or not. We ask the contractors to sharpen their pencils at that time.
So if all of us just said, gosh, we're so confused and so we're not going to vote on it or we're not going to approve it, what happens to you? Does work stop, or do you just have to come with each contract every time and say, hey, we've got this going on, we've got this going on? What changes?
I think that we would have to go back. I'd have to visit with our procurement and see what our requirements are, what the CAC and the board require of us. Right now, this is falling under that requirement of less than $200,000 per task order. It would slow our work greatly. It would put us to a month, 6 weeks longer in getting work executed. So, and as I was describing a little bit earlier, we're trying to have the ability to expedite projects when they come online, when we see the need, and then we can actually address them in a much quicker fashion. So.
And Reb, when we were having the big debate over increasing the task order amount from 100,000, forgive me, my memory sucks.
It's fine.
Did we go to 200,000?
Yes, we did.
We did go to 200,000. And that was approved by the board.
Yes, ma'am.
Got
Did it was approved at $200,000 by the board, just for your information. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
You have a question,
Joan, just,
When the city finishes with their presentation, I would like to break out parts of this for a vote rather than all-encompassing vote.
fine. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Good afternoon, members of CAT. Kathleen Krager, City Traffic Engineer. I have one walk-on contract for you that I believe you have a copy of, and it is, where did it go? Thank you. It is a contract amount of $67,765, and it's, whoops, that wasn't it. Oh, that's not it. Okay, so who took my paperwork from here? Dave, I'm going to need that back.
I was going to say,
Okay.
I still can read numbers.
I have a walk-on contract that looks a lot better now. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I let you interrupt me, and then you go, okay, never mind. It's for $54,025. This contract is for 200 controllers. This is to upgrade the last of our old controllers that are on the signals. This is the last time we'll be coming and asking for this upgrade of old controllers. The controller is the part of the signal. It's the computer guts of the signal, and it's what makes all of the video camera detection, and in the future, as we add radar, the radar detection, to tell the signal how it should change cycles and when it should change cycles. Many of our signals we have programmed so finely that, for example, when a high school or other school is loading in the morning for that 15-minute period, it will run on a different program than it does for the rest of the morning. And then it changes again during the daytime, again in the evening, and will change again overnight. So these have gotten to be very complicated programs. We're rather fortunate in that years ago, we happened to have a couple really good geeks working on staff, and they have developed a controller that we actually buy the pieces for, and we put it together and build it ourselves. It is more powerful than I think virtually any controller you can buy off the shelf, and does it much cheaper, so I'm very pleased with it. But we would like to upgrade the last 200 signals.
Is one of those at Pikes Peak and Academy?
If I say yes, does that mean I don't know where the 200 are?
So when you divide 200 signals by that, you're paying $270 per controller, which is an incredibly cheap price. 10 years ago, when I was doing that type of work, you were looking at $10,000 per controller. So this is a bargain at 10 times the price.
If it's put in the right place.
Yes, sir.
Kathleen, as I look at the back of this, there's no money currently programmed against this requirement?
That's right.
Is this capital or maintenance?
capital.
Well, it says
No, maintenance. We do have maintenance dollars for signals, and it's coming out of those maintenance dollars.
But your
It
paper
says
capital.
capital.
I did that, I,
Oh.
was capital. And the other thing, I did this like at noon, so I wasn't able to get the dollar that's available. There's money in the budgets, but I just didn't have.
Sleep you're at noon and you are at 4 or 8?
Yeah. We're trying to get Mike on a similar signal controller, but so far, no luck. Okay, it is coming out of our signal maintenance money, and we do have plenty of money in that account this year.
Is that something that can be noted in the minutes, that there's a difference between the paperwork and what's actually being stated?
We'll correct the memo for the board.
Thank you. The next item is not a contract per se, it's an advance notice and asking for permission to do something. It also would be coming out of that maintenance budget that we're talking about for signals. Thank you. And it is the purchase of 3 signal vans. And a van might not sound like the specialized equipment we think of in with using PPRTA money, but these signal vans truly are. I have 5 full-time signal maintenance workers that the city pays for. They provide all of the preventative maintenance operations on the signals. They touch every signal and every piece of equipment in the city at least once a year. And they also do the emergency repairs of signals when something happens, like a car accident that knocks into a signal pole or that type of thing. These vans have a couple requirements. They must be large so that they can hold all of the pieces of equipment that you would normally need to repair a signal. And they need to be such that the person can stand up inside of it, because they do a lot of work inside the van. And I brought a picture just to show you what one of our, if we want to pass it around, just to show you what the inside of one of those current vans looks like. We buy the vans completely stripped out, and then we put in cabinets and countertops and computer rack systems so that there you go, so that they're able to do all of the wiring that they need to do and that type of thing inside the van, just in case it happens to be snowing or raining that day, because trust me, you don't want to do your wiring necessarily out in the weather. But also because we are such a large geographic city and have 584 signals, the only way I can stretch 5 people over this city is if I send them out in the morning and they don't come back until late at night, and they have everything that they need to spend a productive day working on signals. These technicians and their vans are also the ones that are on call 24/7 for any emergency repair of signals. We had 5 vans, and last month one of them threw a rod, and the other one dropped a transmission. And since they both had well over 150,000 miles on them, they were city vehicles and very beat up, the fleet said, no, these are not worthy of repair, and we had to agree with them. We have 2 of our vans that are currently operate and do well, but unfortunately, they were some of the very early versions of these taller vans that you can stand up inside. They are Dodge vans, and we do not have a certified mechanic in Colorado Springs that can work on them. So anytime they need mechanical work, they have to go all the way to Denver, which means I usually lose them for 3 days for even minor mechanical work. So what I'd like to do, I definitely have to have 2 signal vans to get guys out working on signals again. I'd like to get 3, and then we can take our oldest and sort of smallest of the signal vans and make that an emergency van, so that if the van is in repair, they've got something to use, or if we're having a lot of problems one day and one of the supervisors, for example, needs to go out and work on a signal, he's got a van that he can take out that's fully equipped and get things done as well. At the moment, I have rounded up spare cars, including sedans, for signal maintenance guys to work, and trust me, they're not liking that at all. So if I could ask for at least a verbal vote or something from CAC, I will ask the same thing from the board, and then we will get down to serious contracting on these vans.
Tom?
Sir, I'd like to offer that we consider items 1 through 8 separately, hold off 9, and add the walk-on to the 1 through 8 and vote on that?
That was my,
Hang on just a minute, I gotta do some math. Would you like to do 1 through 8 and 10
Correct.
as one vote and 9 separately?
Yes, that is my motion.
Okay, there's been a motion put forward to bifurcate item 6A, separating items 1 through 8, plus item 10, which is a walk-on this morning, about $54,000 for traffic controllers. What's wrong with a police officer out there blowing his whistle? No, seriously. And then consider item 9 separately. Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion?
If I could offer a friendly amendment to that, I would like to take items 2 through now 10 as separate, and from the Centennial, separating the capital from the maintenance.
Fine with that.
I have to have a second.
Second.
Okay, say now the motion is to include items 2 through 10, excluding 1 and 9 for separate vote. Is that correct?
No, separate votes on 2 through 10.
That's what he said.
Individually?
Yeah,
So you want to vote basically 11 times or 10 times?
10 times, 11 times.
She wants to separate capital from maintenance.
I want to separate the capital from the maintenance. Now, if you want to go 2 through 7 as one vote, or 2 through 8 as one vote, and 9 and 10 as a second vote, I'll amend my friendly amendment if I can. That would be fine.
But I like the 9 separate.
Yeah, well, that's
So-
separate.
Okay, I'll go back to my 9 separate.
I'm not sure I understand. So basically.
All right, so basically, what I'm asking, and I guess it's asking from 1 through 10 inclusive, that they be separate votes. Number 1 is a capital item. The rest are maintenance items, but I would still feel more comfortable voting on each item rather than passing as a group.
Before I ask for a second, I'm going to make a comment. There is no distinct difference between item 2 or 7. Why do you want to vote on them separately?
I can take 2 through 7 and do it as one. Just heard from other people
I'm
that
sorry, 2
wanted.
through 8, thank you.
Or 2 through 8, just that we had other members that expressed individual votes. So I am amenable to either way. 2 through 8, I have no problem voting as a group, but 1, 9, and 10 definitely is individual votes.
Amy?
May I make a friendly amendment that is, we vote on 1, and then we have a second vote that is 2 through 8, and then we have a separate vote that is 9, and we have a separate vote that is 10. 'Cause I think
Okay,
that
that's
covers
what I'm
everybody.
trying to say.
Second.
Perfect, let's go.
I will second that.
Okay.
I wasn't explaining it well, I'm sorry.
All right, we have a friendly amendment. As I understand it, we will vote on 1, and it was seconded by Tony. The friendly amendment was by Amy. We will vote on 1, then items 2 through 8 as a unit, then item 9, and item number 10, which was the walk-on for $54,000. Is that correctly understood?
Yes.
Yes.
I am going to call for a vote on the friendly amendment, which is what I just tried to restate, hopefully reasonably accurate. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? So moved. All right. I would entertain an amendment, or a motion to vote on item number 1, Centennial Boulevard Extension. And it's, yes, Jones.
I would move to approve item number 1.
Second.
That's Joan and Tom, okay. No discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Items 2 through 8.
Move for approval of items 2 through 8.
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
All right. Dave? Oppose? Okay. We have 2 opposition, so it passes, I think, the count, 2, 4, 6, 11.
Actually, I'm going to abstain because I still don't quite understand why they're changing.
I don't either.
So I'm going to abstain.
All right, just back up.
Sorry.
The reason I oppose it is because I really don't think there's enough clarity in what they put forward.
So,
All right.
And
All
I
in
agree with
favor,
him.
raise your hand.
so I did the vote.
All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that right? Did you get the count?
7.
2, 3.
2, 5, 6, 7.
7.
3, 5.
Okay. Opposed?
All opposed? 3.
1 abstain. And abstain? Okay.
1 abstention.
7, 3, and 1.
Right.
May I request that some of us abstained or did not pass it just because of a lack of clarity?
It will be presented to the board as such.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm making notes. All right. Item number 9.
Can we have some discussion on this one, please?
Yes,
Mr. Chair?
just a minute. Go, is discussion or questions? Go.
Mr. Chair, I have a question on this one. If we do vote on this, it's not actually voting for approval, is that what I got? But it's voting to kind of let them move forward towards trying to put together a contract, is that correct?
Sharpen their pencils.
I have that I attached, I have the cost of just, this is the MSP. To be truthful, when we start negotiating these, when you buy 3 expensive vans, you're going to end up with a much better price. So when I come with the actual contract, it's going to be less than what I'm looking at today. But I just didn't want to waste everyone's time if this was something that the board did not feel was an appropriate use of our maintenance money.
Okay, so if we approved today, then you go out, try to get a contract, and come back with those actual numbers, is that correct?
Exactly, just as we would any contract.
Okay.
But I would hope if you send me forward to get contracts, that you wouldn't suddenly decide that that isn't an appropriate use.
Okay, so really what we're voting on is whether it's appropriate use
Yes.
of the money. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask Rick to come up. I'm going to read something real briefly. We've been through this several times before. Policy number 24, and there's several, like 27 or 28 general policies that have been set up by the board in years past, over the years. This one, I'm going to only read the first line. It's all been given to you today, and it says, discontinue the practice of purchasing non-specialized vehicles. And actually, I'm sorry, I personally thought it was non-specialized equipment, but regardless. Rick, thank you.
The 2 applicable lines on the Policy 24 that I handed out today that each of you should have, this was generated by the board a couple years ago after a lot of discussion, including a joint meeting of the CAC board on vehicle purchases. At the time, the non-specialized vehicles were pickup trucks. So it's the first and third lines. So the board decided to discontinue the practice of purchasing non-specialized vehicles. But number 3, continue the practice of purchasing specialized vehicles and equipment. So your decision relative to your recommendation to the board is whether or not these 3 vans fall in the non-specialized category in line 1 or the specialized category in line 3.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, are there any questions of Rick specifically?
No, I guess this would be a question for Kathleen.
All right, just hang on. Any other general questions? All right, Kathleen, Tony's got a question.
So my question on that decision, whether it's non-specialized or specialized, you spoke about the need for a tall van.
Yes.
But are they coming with specialized equipment already installed when you purchase them?
We purchase them blank so that we can install that specialized equipment ourselves, just because we have the skills and the muscles to do that, and it's much cheaper than ordering it with that specialized equipment. So we save money by installing the specialized equipment ourselves, but by the time we're done installing that, it is very much a specialized van that can only be used for the purpose of going out and working on signals, as opposed to a pickup truck, which could be used by, say, any city inspector or an engineer going to look at the site or that type of thing. These are vans that are assigned to one person for one duty.
And would these vans, would you be able to install the specialized equipment into just any van?
No, because then I've got somebody who for, 8 hours plus a day is working like this, and the next thing I know, I've got them in physical therapy all the time instead of working on signals.
We have a question.
Tom? and then
Whoever.
So you're asking us to approve the purchase of the non-specialized vehicle, but not the specialized equipment?
We already have the specialized equipment that's needed, and what equipment we don't, we will purchase, but it's quite small when we're just going out and buying a wire rack to put computer hardware in. So we will put that in ourselves and save probably the $10,000 that it would cost a Ford dealership to put that equipment in for us.
Steve?
So Kathleen, are there any contractors locally that can provide the specialized service that these vans are providing in terms of whether or not these are specialized?
Unfortunately not. We do not have anyone in town that currently is working on signals for a repair purpose. In fact, it's becoming sort of a crisis in the city. I am down to one contractor in the city that does signal installation. So we're having to do more signal installation ourselves. To hire someone that repairs signals, I would have to call them down from Denver. And so it would mean that every time we have a signal outage, instead of getting someone to the signal within 20 minutes, I would get someone to the signal probably within 2 to 3 hours. And that would be quite expensive, and I don't think the service that our citizens get for not having down signals would be worth it. I should mention we have one of the better rates in the state of the fewest downtime for signals in the state. Our signals stay running most of the time and don't give a lot of problems, and I think a lot of that is because we are on top of them every year and do the maintenance that needs to be done instead of just ignore them. We also repair the state signals in this area because they can't find anyone to repair them either.
So as a follow-up to that, so it seems like it's a specialized use based on what you just said. Should you buy one of these, say, non-specialized vans with the specialized equipment, how much more would that cost?
So we're estimating about $10,000 a vehicle if we bought it fully functional for how we need to function it.
Okay.
And I can't help it. The TMC, they're just a bunch of mechanical geeks, and they couldn't stand to not put in that hardware themselves. It's what they do.
So then I guess I would maybe ask all of us, if the van is not a specialized equipment and the city wanted to purchase one fully equipped with specialized equipment, would you consider that specialized? And if so, the city seems to be saving you $10,000.
Amy's next, and then Joan, then you. Amy?
I certainly don't question the need, and I certainly appreciate that we have efficient response times to the issue that these vans would address. I think that we're extending the definition of specialized equipment to a level beyond which I'm comfortable. especially if the van doesn't come itself with the equipment. I appreciate that you want to install the equipment and save the city money. All of those things are great. In my opinion, it's just not a purchase that should be coming out of PPRTA dollars. It's a really good opportunity that I would support for the city to purchase out of general fund.
I guess I would look at our purchase of fleet out of general funds. They're always looking for if the van or the vehicle isn't used for this group, where would we put it? And they try to buy very generalized vehicles that then can be used by a large number of people, preferably within our pool vehicles that are checked out by virtually anyone. The extra cost of buying the large, oversized vans that you can stand up with are only needed by our signal maintenance people. And therefore, Fleet looks at them and says, I really don't need to purchase these because I don't have other groups that are requiring their need.
Answered the question. John?
I'm going to withdraw. No
Cindy?
question at this time.
I was going back to his question about if it was purchased with the equipment. I've seen a lot of pickups or vans or such that are then changed to fit the need. But they're still a vehicle. They're still a van you can get at the Ford dealer. So even though you are making it so useful for those signal needs, I still feel it's a non-specialized vehicle. That's my opinion.
Any other? All right, Joan?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from as well. So I think there's a difference between getting a piece of specialized equipment that comes in to the city all fit and ready to go and is obviously unique. But these are just vans. Yeah, I get the part about wanting to put in the materials. But see, I've always struggled with this. I've always struggled with vehicles as being maintenance. And right or wrong, my definition of maintenance is shovels in the ground, doing things, and I'm just not comfortable. And I think if we talk to folks outside of this area or even talked with constituents and said, what do you think of purchasing vehicles as being maintenance? For those in the population that would understand what we're talking about, I don't think most people would be comfortable with it.
Tom, Tony?
I think if we spend $10,000 unnecessarily per van, it's a waste of money. This is a specialized vehicle when it's equipped, when it's on the road, when the person's using it. It is not used by us for any purpose other than convert it to a specialized vehicle. It will be a specialized vehicle, and we save $30,000, for gosh sakes.
Tony?
Kathleen, when will these, are these vehicles only used for the city of Colorado Springs? Are they?
We are under contract to provide maintenance on 22 state signals, because the state does not have anyone in the area to maintain these signals. They pay us for that, but we will still have 2 plus a reserve van that are city vans that can do the state-owned signals, because we don't use PPRTA equipment on the state signals.
So for these vans,
Otherwise,
though,
it's
would
all
they be
city.
used on other PPRTA member governments?
Oh,
That's what I mean specifically.
with the same criteria, if, for example, and I'll give you a very good example, Manitou Springs does not currently own any signals.
Okay.
But very shortly, they're going to own signals, because Colorado Avenue has been devolved by the state. It's currently owned by the county. The county will be turning it over to Manitou Springs soon. And there are 2, okay, we're going to still assume that's going to happen. There are 2 signals in that location. Manitou Springs does not have the personnel or specialized equipment to maintain those signals. So our assumption has always been, and I've offered to sit down and work with Manitou to work out a labor agreement that we will maintain their signals. We will charge them for the labor and parts, but not for the use of the van and everything in it.
If the van had to be purchased with funds that were not PPRTA, would the cost to those member governments, or Manitou specifically, be higher or lower than if it was purchased with PPRTA funds?
Well, it would need to be higher because that would go into part of my city overhead that I would have to recapture on any maintenance agreements.
Okay, thank you.
Cindy?
I understand what you're saying about saving $30,000, but, and maybe it's because I'm a small town out in the country, but I see a lot of people who buy a van or a pickup and they got it, and they put shelves in and they put these in and make it work for them. To me, that's not a specialized, that's making it work for you, which I think is wonderful, but I still don't consider it a specialized vehicle. So.
I guess I'll try to answer it this way. If I give my signal maintenance guys a normal city vehicle and tell them to maintain the signal, because they cannot store all of the equipment that they would need in a regular vehicle. The Ford Focus that I pull out of the pool, or something similar, or even a pickup truck, they can't keep all the electronic equipment outside in a pickup truck. They would be forced to drive to the site, look at specifically what they need, go back to the office downtown, put together what it is they need, drive back out to the site, repair it, and then go on to the next one. It would be much more expensive, and I wouldn't get this number of signals done that I need to get done.
I'm not disputing that this is a much-needed thing. I'm not disputing, but I am saying I don't feel it's PPRTA because we said no vehicles. I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad that you guys figured it out, but I don't think it's our place to pay for it.
Okay.
Amy?
I agree.
Agreed, and I feel like we're kind of dangerously mixing sort of need and additions and specialization with just the issue of who would make the purchase. I mean, if it almost feels like it's going in the direction of, if it's not purchased with PPRTA funds, then we're going to purchase something that's going to be less efficient to our workers. So that seems to feel like the implication to me. So I'll ask you, if this isn't approved with PPRTA funds, does that mean that you get a lesser van that's going to be less efficient? That you will actually purchase something less efficient?
I have not been approved to purchase any vans with city money, and so I guess I'll ask you to look at it from the city side of things. They struggle with a balanced budget that is, at this time, having to put in a significant amount of money to things other than transportation, such as stormwater issues, that type of thing. And they turn to me and say, well, Kathleen, didn't you on the last two votes get maintenance of signals approved as a legitimate use of PPRTA money? And that our voters agreed that maintaining signals is both capital and maintenance money in the city. It was an important part of the transportation system that PPRTA is to take care of. And so why are you coming to me and telling me you won't be able to maintain signals without a significant city outlay?
But I'm guessing that they have some understanding of the controversy around purchasing vehicles.
They do, but they also have an understanding of what a specialized vehicle is.
And then it also, when you talk sort of about the history and sort of what an expectation would be, it feels like we just kind of nudge a little bit closer, and now we're right at the precipice of specialized versus unspecialized. And I almost don't want to get that close to that edge. So I'm not in favor of purchasing these. It's not to me a specialized piece of equipment.
All right. Everybody but Mr. Barnhart has had a chance to say something. I'm going to give him a chance. We're going around the room one time. Any comment you want to make, and then we're going to close the discussion and ask for motion. Go ahead, Mrs. Barnhart.
Okay, so we pay to allow this, we give a certain amount of money to the city every year and maintaining signals is one of those functions. Because this piece of equipment starts as a stock van, I don't think makes it any less a piece of specialized equipment. It is used only by signal techs, only for signal maintenance, and I don't think because they start as a stock vehicle makes it any less a piece of specialized equipment that is used for one specific job, just like a road paver or any of the other, or striping truck, or any of the other pieces of specialized equipment we've approved over the years. So I would be in favor of allowing the city to do it.
All right, Jake, I hate to be the mean guy that starts you, but do you have any other comments?
No, sir.
Questions? Dave?
Have you looked at leasing vehicles? Like ARI or somebody like that? Because you're only putting 9,000 miles a year on them.
For some of the larger, more expensive, leasing works well, but we found for things like vans, they put such a restrictive mileage on it that, and because we put all the specialized equipment in it, the idea of leasing a van is that you turn, or leasing a car is that you turn it back after a certain time, and it's got low enough mileage and is good enough condition that they're able to resell it at a profit.
9,000 miles a year is nothing.
Yeah, except that
That's what you're doing.
we've knocked holes on the interior walls to put all of our cabinets in and that type of thing. We're fearful of leasing. If they were more expensive than what they are, I would worry about it, but this falls well within my maintenance budget.
Tony?
I'm concerned with the fact that, not with this, I plan to vote yes on this, that it's an appropriate use, because I'm concerned with the fact that people are trying to redefine the word specialized. Specialized means that it has a use, a specific use, that is different than a bunch of other uses. That is what special means. So just because you don't feel like it's specialized doesn't really mean that the word doesn't mean what it means. So I plan to vote yes on this, especially since it'll save everybody money. Save the city money, save Manitou money soon, that's what we're supposed to be here for, is to be good stewards of the money, using the money appropriately. I'll be voting yes.
Joan?
When this is put before the voters, I recall certain projects being listed. I don't recall asking the voters about purchasing specialized or non-specialized equipment. So I hesitate to say that the voters approved when they were given a list of projects, not vehicles.
I'm going to remind everybody, policy number 24, approved by the board, is made up of elected officials. Sorry, that was an editorial comment. Tom?
Yeah.
The funding you're requesting is coming from the signals budget that you have, or is this an over and above that?
This is the signal maintenance budget.
So it's coming out of that, you're not
Yes.
coming back asking for money to replace that money?
No, it's signal maintenance money.
So somehow you anticipated you'd have an issue with these vehicles, so you put that budget forward with that money involved? Because the same number of failures are going to occur whether you budget for them or not.
Fortunately, we only have to do it about every 20 years. And so it's not something often,
Maintain the signal for 5 years.
but we do realize that there are times when we have to purchase that specialized equipment, be it a van or a new server that handles all the information the controllers give us, or that type of thing, and we take that out of our maintenance money.
Tom?
Quickie thought about you're going to get rid of 2 vans, basically?
Yes,
You're going to take the specialized equipment out of those vans and use it in the new ones?
absolutely.
So if we bought new vans, you'd have surplus equipment laying around.
That's true.
That's a waste of money.
You know, it may be my Irish heritage, but we tend to be fairly thrifty at TMC, and Streets can tell you we gave them an old piece of equipment that we were not using, and they were hoping that it would still have things inside it, and when they got it, it was stripped so bare that included the heater. And we've never had to live that down, that we gave them an unheated piece of equipment.
I see this as very specialized, and reusing the work specialized equipment in the new van makes it a specialized piece of equipment.
Scott?
I don't have anything to add.
Cindy?
I would just like to put forward that I kind of got offended that I don't know the definition of specialized. We've never defined it. We said specialized vehicles or equipment, I believe, and I could be mistaken, but when we had pickups, they were specialized in that they only worked PPRTA projects. So specialized is not defined. My opinion is this is not.
Okay, Amy?
Same, and I'm glad we're having the discussion, but it kind of sounds like we're heading down the path of having another discussion. So I suppose we are a divided audience, and it doesn't sound like there's going to be, that you can move forward with any kind of confidence, because I think there'll be a couple of us that are still having an issue with the specialized definition. So
And I
wish that we could come to some kind of consensus so that you weren't, so that you knew which direction to go in. But I still I stand firm with.
Okay. I did want to give CAC a certain degree of confidence, because while I tend not to remember most of what goes on during my days, I do remember the discussion of specialized vehicles that we had. And I clearly remember standing at the board, and my guess is I also stood at the CAC and said it, that I do not consider pickup trucks to be specialized. Even if I put a rack in the back that you can put a roll of plans on it, it's still not specialized, because, you know, any old inspector or engineer can use it, or that type of thing. And I believe that I stand for the entire city when we all agree that our purchase of pickup trucks is not a specialized item. We're trying to look at very specific equipment rather than that general fleet of trucks that we use.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree that the vehicle should be defined as specialized. Since it has a specialized use, I'll be voting yes. I think it's clear.
All right. I would entertain a motion, one way or the other. Tom?
I make a motion, we vote on these vehicles being specialized.
I second.
This is a discussion
No.
point. We don't have a vote.
We don't have that.
I
You can
call
either
for
say, yeah, go out and do quotes or not. That would be the issue, not the definition of
Everybody has had an
specialization.
opportunity to speak, okay? I'm entertaining a motion, up or down, and our purview isn't to do anything but forward to the board an approval or disapproval with the reason why. Every one of you have had a point and have offered your opinion. I appreciate it very much, but for Joan to repeat that she doesn't think it's this, or Amy to say that this isn't that, and I'm sorry if Cindy was offended, I missed it. But literally, everybody's had a chance to voice an opinion. What is wrong for asking for somebody to make a motion, and we vote on this and move on? Amy?
Because it's listed as a discussion item and not something upon
Yes.
which we're going to vote. Discussion only.
Is it? Oh, discussion only.
All right. Rather than a motion to approve it, I would entertain a suggested wording that you want to go forward to the board. Tony?
Mr. Chair, I move that we give authorization to proceed as a recommendation to the board for acquiring quotes for the purchase of vans for signal maintenance.
Second?
Second,
All right.
third, fourth.
Any discussion prior to the vote? Amy?
I would just like to add to that, I like that motion. I would like to add that there is not unanimous consensus for approval of the purchase, just to ensure that.
I did say authorization to proceed in acquiring quotes.
Yes, I like that, but I also want it to be noted that, you know, it's not we're not saying, oh, yes, we're all gung-ho. But yes, I would approve that. Second.
Okay, you have a motion that we give a recommendation to the board that the city proceed. Because it seems to me, I'm going to ask for a show of hands. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Do we have wording on the motion?
Tony's motion was that the CAC recommends to the board authorization, recommends to the board that the city be authorized to proceed to acquire the 3 vans because it meets the definition of specialized.
Proceed to acquire quotes for the 3
Quotes for the
vans.
vans, yes.
I took the wording directly from this.
Yeah. Quotes for the vans because they meet the intent of specialized in policy 24. And I counted 6 in favor.
Well, wait a minute. I couldn't count. So all in favor, raise your hands.
It's just to get quotes.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay?
All right, all opposed?
5.
That's all of us. All right, it will go forward with Tony's motion. God, I hope you've got it written down.
That's right off the stuff here.
Yeah, he quoted it. 6.
We still have to vote on number
6,
10.
5. All right, item number 10 on the list was the walk-on for $54,025, not $67,000 and something dollars. Because, all right, is there a motion to approve
So moved.
corrected as not capital but maintenance?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Ms. Irvin, you're up.
Good afternoon, PPRTA, CAC, Jennifer Irvin, County Engineer. We have 2 items for your consideration today. 2 contracts for capital. This is from funding from the extension of the capital program. The first item is Monument Hill Road. This is a contract amendment, and this is the next step in the design. We're asking for $425,530 for the final design of the Monument Hill Road project. And then the second item is a contract for Colorado Avenue. This is for construction management, and this is a contract with CH2M, formerly known as CH2M Hill. Contract award amount is $1.985 million. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
All right. We have quote conflict. Steve Murray has to recuse himself, which means he cannot vote, but he is allowed to participate in any discussion. Okay? Are there any questions of Jennifer?
I would move approval of both items as presented.
Second.
Second from Scott. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Does anybody oppose?
Thank you for your consideration today.
All right, City of Manitou Springs. Oh. I'm going to announce in advance. There's another person that has an interest, so you want to say anything, Jake? Jake has to recuse himself because of conflict of interest and will not be able to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Shelley Cobaugh. I'm the relatively new Public Services Director for the City of Manitou Springs. I've worked for the City of Manitou Springs for 2 years, and this is the first time I've had the pleasure of attending one of your meetings. So I have lots of questions, as you can imagine, after some of the discussion here. But today I think my item is relatively simple. The City of Manitou Springs had a fiscal year budget of right around $320,000 for maintenance. We identified a mill overlay project for Crystal Hills Boulevard, Pawnee Boulevard, and some first-time crack sealing of city streets. We feel that these are valid expenditures of PPRTA maintenance funding, and we are asking for approval of a $249,570 contract with our selected contractor to facilitate the mill overlay work for 2016.
Joan,
I would move approval of the contract request.
I'd like to ask some questions first, please.
Okay.
Did you receive any other quotes?
We did. We received 4 other quotes. This was not our, I guess it's important to let you know, this was not the low bidder. The low bidder was disqualified because they wanted to negotiate the price of asphalt at the time of contract award, and we asked for a fixed price, and we didn't consider that a fixed price. So this was the next lowest bidder.
Okay, the second question is, you have a problem with the lapse of insurance liability?
We are aware of that, and we've asked the contractor. I believe their insurance is good through November. They're going to be bringing us another certificate of insurance prior to us giving them a notice to proceed on this contract.
It's just paperwork.
I'm sorry? Well, it just said October 1st, and I'm thinking, I missed a month somewhere, but that's all right.
Thank
So
you.
literally, they do have their insurance in place?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. All right, Joan?
Move approval of this item as presented.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on. Ryan?
Good afternoon. Brian Vituli, the Planning Supervisor from City of Colorado Springs Mountain Metro Transit, with your monthly transit report. For our fixed route services, we've seen about an 8% increase for August of this year to August of 2015. And ridership has been steadily increasing this year. For our ADA paratransit service, we saw a little over a 1% increase in ridership over that same time period. And for our Metro Rides program, we saw a 29% decrease in ridership comparing this August to August of 2015. And we've been seeing a general decrease in ridership with our van pool services over the last, well, for most of this year, especially since the good weather's been here. There's been some turnover with some of the employees that were in those van pools and some shift time changes that's impacted some of those. And so our ridership is continuing to decrease. We have a few potential leads on new van pools, so we're hopeful that those will help increase our ridership. For a few of the project updates, things that we're working on recently and to come, our downtown transit station relocation study is progressing. Next week we'll be having our final technical and stakeholder working group meetings next Thursday, October 13th. And then our final open house is scheduled for Wednesday, October 19th. It'll be at the City Administration Building, room 102, from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock in the evening. And following that, I've been reporting on this over the last several months. We're down to a very small handful of sites that we'll be presenting to our technical working group members and our stakeholders next week, and then to the public at our open house. And these final sites will be compared to each other. We're actually in a pretty positive place where we have 3 potential sites that could work. Some will work better than others. The analysis will compare them together and see which one is the best. Of those remaining sites, one is a public site, which we feel is important. There would be either no or very little land acquisition that would need to be purchased. So that's been an obstacle in the past since this study has happened several times before. So having one public option still available that will work is a good thing. Following that, we will be reporting to City Council the results of this study at their Monday, November 7th meeting. And then following that, that's the first phase of this process, and hopefully we can move forward toward, environmental work and if there's any property acquisition and design and construction. So I'd ask you all to come or keep participating if you are. We will send out the meeting notices to you all, so you know the locations and the times very shortly. September 18th, Sunday, September 18th, we implemented our fall service changes. We're continuing to add some weekday evening service and some Saturday and Sunday service. We're expecting some new vehicles to come in August of 2017, which will allow us to add more frequency next fall. We already added frequency this spring. We don't have any extra vehicles to add frequency with the fall service change, but there's still an awful lot of need for off-peak service, and that's where the weekday evening and Saturday and Sunday service has been very popular. And then also, this item's added on to your project update. 2 weeks ago, we attended the Colorado Association of Transit Agencies Conference, and we were awarded the Large Community Transit Agency of the Year Award. There are about 40, there are about 40-some transit agencies throughout the state, and about 13 in this large agency category. So it's areas with a population of 15,000 and over. So we're in the same class as Denver's RTD and Transfort and Fort Collins and Pueblo and Grand Junction. So this was a great award. We've done an awful lot of work the last several years. Revenue service hours, we added about 19% from last year and about 59% since 2010, when we only operated 255 days out of the year. So that's a basic Monday through Friday service with no evening service, no weekend service. And we've slowly rebuilt our system with the help of a lot of you here and City General Fund and RTA funds, and it's looking good that the mayor's budget proposal shows us getting back to our maintenance of effort level for 2017, so that's another positive step. So just thank you all for your support, and we're really proud of this achievement, and I'll take any questions.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Before anybody says anything, I didn't mention this. I didn't know Brian was going to. But literally, there's been a considerable discussion over the years since it was not, the city didn't meet its obligation as it was understood by many of the CAC members. The mayor has kept his promise. According to this, it has not been approved by city council yet. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
I asked a couple of council members, but I'm not sure they paid attention to the question.
It was just released on Monday.
But regardless, the mayor has met his promise. This brings us up to a maintenance of effort. So hats off to the mayor. And
Yes, hats off to the mayor indeed. I'm really thrilled to see this.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, that's it.
Any questions? Thank you. Oh, Amy.
I'm curious about the award. So it looks like it was because of service improvements. Were there other aspects of Mountain Metro Transit that were identified as the exemplary that earned us the award? Or?
Well, this middle paragraph here provides most of the information. I mean, we're focused on improving our overall productivity, improving our on-time performance. On a recent example, we took 2 long circuitous routes and broke them into 4 routes. So the on-time performance is better, reliability is better, they're a little bit more direct, and we've seen a 10% on-time performance increase from 81.5% to 91.5%. So there are items like that, which is why we received the award. Sure.
Nice work.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. City of Colorado Springs.
Left.
Is there anybody here from City of Colorado Springs? All right, it's an information item only. It is a tremendous change order based on, $4,400 change order for $1.5 million contract. And we don't do anything with it anyway, it's just for information purposes. So, Mr. Sonnenberg,
say the Petty Cities Press.
So I'm here for 8A, B, and C. 8A, report of recent board actions. It's an information item. Any questions? Okay, 8B needs a little discussion. It's information. However, we have several CAC members whose terms are up, but please remember that the member government CAC members have terms, but no term limits. The at-large and at-large alternates have terms, but do have term limits. So, Reb's term is up. Jonathan Dooley's first term is up. And then we have Jim Godfrey is at-large, Tom Roger at-large alternate, and we have the recently saddened vacancy in Carla's at-large position. So, on the at-large and at-large alternates, I'll be talking to the board next week and ask them how they want to proceed on those. There's several options, but on the first two, those members will need to take some action at their end of the board.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go.
Since I'm new, how are the at-large positions filled, like for that vacancy?
The board has used several different options over the years. On the at-large regular, sometimes they will invite applications from the alternates.
Okay.
Sometimes they will go to the file and look at the unsuccessful applications for at-large from the last cycle, and our last cycle was in February.
But at some point, there's an application process?
Yes.
Okay.
And then sometimes they will direct staff to put an ad in the paper.
Okay.
And sometimes it's all of the above.
Find an unwitting individual that doesn't realize how much fun this is.
Can I ask, in your letter, you mentioned Mr. Godfrey's at-large seat a couple of times,
Mhm.
but he's eligible to be reappointed, right?
Yes.
Okay, but Reb is not?
No.
Reb is, as far as we're concerned.
Okay, does HAC can do as many?
Well,
I am term limited with HAC.
Oh, but you can become an at-large.
Yeah, I've actually thrown myself at the mercy of a couple of people that are missing some members. There's one from Manitou Springs, there's one from Green Mountain Falls, there's an opening in Rama. Besides working with two lovely young women, I'm not sure I want to be either in Manitou Springs or...
so if Reb were not term limited at his HAC position, he could request a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, because there are no term limits for the member governments.
Rick, I have a question. I'm also term limited with Rep come next February or whenever the appointment is. So if I wanted to, I could apply then for an at-large or an alternate position.
Yes.
Thank you.
You don't understand, there's some little friction.
Any other questions? Okay, and then the staff field review. Any questions on that?
Do you use a specialized...
No, I do not.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh, Reb.
So I think you're ready for number 9, if anyone has any.
Does anybody have any topics they'd like to suggest for discussion next month? I would like to make everybody aware next month is budget month. And Beverly says we can only spend $87 million, that she gave us $89, that she and Rick went on a party, well-deserved. $2 million party. I'm just making arrangements for you to have a good time. But no, seriously, the budget comes up next month. Final approval will come in December. Is that correct? there anything else? Our communications director is absent. Does anybody want to adjourn, or do you stay for a party?
Oh, party.
$2 million party?
You have to take it from them. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't know if this was mentioned last meeting, but the APWA awarded the county Baptist Road Project of the Year. So just in recognizing El Paso County for a job well done there.
And Jennifer has promised to get an extra plaque in addition to the one they're going to put on the wall, for us to put on our wall.
Oh, great.
And we've got to buy a new 10-gallon hat for Jennifer now. This is up to 50. All right, we are adjourned.